All right. Hello, everybody. How you doing this wonderful Thursday afternoon? Mike, doing all right?
Yeah, I will be in 2 seconds when I turn the audio down, because good lord, I forgot Kylo's completely deaf. Hang on. God, I think I just
Well,
blew my
that's what
eardrums
happens
out.
when you miss a
Okay,
week.
that's... I,
Ah, ah, ah.
I was going to say something that is not politically correct, so I won't.
I mean, isn't that really kind of the only type of things you say?
Yeah, but in today's modern socio and political climate, I don't want to get canceled before I ever make it.
Wow, big words. Good job.
If there is one thing that I know about, it is politics.
With that, guys, thank you all so much for joining us today. For those of you who have not seen our show before, or may need a quick refresh, I'm Brad. That's Mike. We're Dallas Geek. Hi. We talk about nerdy stuff and are, we'll say, semi-successful at being coherent at it.
Semi.
But with that, once again, for those who have not seen our show before, the important shilling that is required at the start of every one of our episodes, please, if you have not already, like us and follow over on Facebook, like the video and subscribe on YouTube, and if you would like to check more of our stuff out, but don't have time for the videos, you can always catch the audio of all of our live shows and interviews over at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, and Stitcher, because we must be all the places all the time for you. Do you think that was enough shilling? With that,
Yes.
so for anybody who did not see the title of the video or the description of the video, it has been exactly 40 years since the 1980s version of Flash Gordon came out.
No, if you're going to do it, no. If you're going to do it, you got to do it right. Hang on. Let me see if I can get this high anymore.
Bring it.
Flash. Nope. Oh, God. Jesus. Flash. Oh, nope. Ooh.
Freddie Mercury, you are not.
God, no kidding.
No offense.
Jesus, how the hell did he do that?
He was Freddie Mercury. How did he do anything?
Freddie F. and Mercury. Good point.
But yes, for those of you who may not be aware, and if you aren't, shame on you. Flash Gordon was a comic strip from 1934 that was made specifically to be a competitor for Buck Rogers. Buck Rogers, for any of the non-hardcore Star Wars fans, was one of the first great space operas that inspired half of the 20th century sci-fi that came out. Flash Gordon inspired the other half.
Wait. So you're saying Lucas stole that too?
Actually, funny you mention Lucas. Turns out, back in the 70s, there were two people who tried desperately to direct Flash Gordon. George Lucas was one of them.
George Lucas. Yep.
And do you know who the other one was? It's a name you wouldn't expect.
But it is a name, right?
Oh yes, Italian. Think 70s classic cinema. Oh, sorry, time's up. That would be Federico Fellini.
Holy
Frickin'
shit!
Fellini.
Seriously?
Yes.
What?
Fellini tried his hand at it
God.
first. He optioned it, got the
Wow.
rights, never made the film. Lucas tried after him, did not get the rights, and had to move on to Star Wars. Go figure.
That's not a bad silver, not a bad silver medal, I guess.
No, not really. I mean, at the time, it probably felt like it, but
Yeah.
in retrospect, no.
Well,
And it took until
maybe the
1980
prequels were.
for Mike Hodges
Yeah.
to finally follow through.
Yep. Yeah, it was
Which
December.
I do have to
what was
say,
it, like December 14th, December 15th, 1980, I think.
No, December 5th.
It was that early. Okay.
Yes, December 5th, 1980. And
Okay.
the crazy thing is, of all of the sci-fi that has existed, Flash Gordon may be the one that has been adapted more than almost any other, if you're not including Star Trek. Because, you know, that's less adaptations than continued iterations. But, I mean, Flash Gordon
Right.
has had multiple movies. The original comic strip went from 34 to 92. And
Jesus.
it's had multiple novels, comic books, radio plays, and television shows. Multiple
almost
television
surprised.
shows.
I was about to say, I'm almost surprised we haven't gotten a modern iteration.
Well,
Sorry,
we did
hang
in
on,
the
hang
early
on.
2000s.
Hang on.
In
Modern.
07, 08. Yep.
Yeah, but that's not modern. That was over a decade ago. Remember, according to this generation that we're living in, if it's over a decade old, it's, you know, retro.
Nope, not acknowledging that one. Anyway.
Yep. But unfortunately, we have friends that fall into that generation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Actually, several.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh.
trying not to feel too old now.
Good
yes,
luck.
So of all of the various adaptations, it's the 80s film that became the quintessential version of Flash Gordon. And
Yeah.
that is because it took the space opera concept and embraced the natural cheese and just over excessive glam that was Flash Gordon, and just cranked it up to as extreme as they could go. I mean, they got freaking Queen to make their theme song. I don't think there's a better way to say you're embracing the camp and the glam than that.
Yeah. Look, so often you see... I guess the best way that you would describe it is like the Charlie's Angels movies and like Starsky and Hutch, these very serious older franchises and older series that are turned into like modern movies, but they're done as comedies. And they're done as like a very tongue-in-cheek, like, oh, like we've got Ben Stiller running around with a perm and it's going to be very cheesy and it's going to be like, that would be... Like those got that idea from this. Like this was like you said, this was a space opera. Like this was a,
by definition,
sci-fi. Yeah, like this was a very sci-fi driven, like grandiose storytelling, like spanning all across the galaxy and the universe and whatnot. Like it wasn't hokey, it wasn't cheesy. Like, even by, like, looking at it by modern standards, it wasn't hokey or cheesy. But, yeah, that's pretty much the way that they went with it.
Yeah, so what's really cool... Oh, by the way, Kyla and Armando have jumped into the comments. Armando is cringing with us about the old thing, and Kyla's leaning into it by saying, yes, we are old, but apparently it's okay.
She has no room to talk. She's not even 30 yet. She's 6 years younger than us.
Hey.
I'm just waiting for her to reply.
But yeah, no. The funny thing is, even the comic strip was defined as a space opera, and
Right.
I mean, between it and Buck Rogers, they may have actually coined the term. Like, you look back prior to 34.
That's a good point.
Other than a few of the radio dramas that happened, how many other things came out at that time that could have been classified as a space opera?
The term space opera was coined in 1941.
Because of what?
Tucker defined space opera as the science fiction equivalent, a hacky, grinding, stinking, outworn spaceship yarn.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around that one too.
All right. Well, getting back to it. Yeah. So Flash Gordon had so many things amazing about it. I mean, between literally casting a Playgirl centerfold as the star, bringing
Playboy.
Max von Sydow and Brian freaking Blessed into the mix as supporting / also main characters.
And sorry
I mean,
to not to interrupt, but Flash Gordon is considered to be the first ever space opera. So you would say that it is almost genre defining, if not totally genre defining.
Oh yeah. And let's not forget, it also brought in James freaking Bond, Timothy Dalton into this. Yep. I mean, they swung for the fences, and they made one of the best cult classics in sci-fi history. And now it's 40, and over the summer got its 4K restoration straight from the original film negatives. And by the way, if you have not seen the 4K restoration, it looks fantastic. Yeah, no, it is. There is so much about Flash Gordon that, in my mind, still deserves to be praised. But
so normally, I would agree with you. I would. I do have.
Don't tell me you're gonna make me want to hurt you.
I find it very hard, because I know with science fiction, you know, it is still based in scientific fact or scientific theory, and I know the suspension of disbelief, and I get all of that.
I swear, if you're about to bring up the bird people.
No, I think I'm about to piss you off even more with this. I understand suspending the suspension of disbelief. I understand, you know, you have to take some things with, hey, you know, it's just fiction. You know, this is fantasy. This is fantastical.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody that is the quarterback for the New York Jets, being able to do anything competently. Didn't know where I was going with that, did you?
By the way, Kyla is very offended that you said 6. It's 5 years.
Oh no! That's all she said, because she texted me, and there's a couple of 4-letter words around the 5 years.
It was emphasized.
Got it.
But yes.
But yeah, the quarterback for the New York Jets being able to do anything.
I mean, does it make
remotely right?
Does it make you feel any better that the original comic had him as a polo star from Yale?
That's more believable than the New York Jets quarterback being able to do anything right. Yes.
Wow.
Have you watched the New York Jets do anything in the last 15 years?
Mike, who are you talking to?
Okay.
Who
fair.
are you talking
think
to right
swimming's-
now?
Yeah,
You're asking
that's
me,
true.
have I seen something sports related? You know better than to ask me that.
I mean,
and
that's
expect
hey,
a
you know what?
real
That
answer.
Hey, that is fair. That is fair. You do think swimming is a sport, so my apologies.
It's in the Olympics.
But yet baseball isn't.
Hey, lightsaber dueling may be in the Olympics soon.
Breakdancing will be.
That's fair.
No, look, all joking aside, this is one of those films. I almost want to say that it deserved better.
Oh, I don't. I think it got exactly what it deserved in the best possible way.
No, I think this is one of those. I think this is one of those they tried to make. This was one of those properties that was a sci-fi staple that everybody thought with the booming technology in the movie industry from the late 70s and early 80s that they could make a film that would do it justice. And I just... I don't know. This is...
I don't know. I think the problem here is you can't do this movie in a serious way. That's what the 07-08 show tried to do. It tried to make it a bit more serious.
Do I just not... do I not remember that show?
As serious as...
Did I miss that?
I believe it was... Sci-Fi Channel. As serious as Sci-Fi Channel is capable of. Granted, keep in mind, they're also the ones that made Battlestar Galactica. So, I mean, they are capable.
That's true.
But
that's very true.
They did try to make it a bit more serious. And there's a reason why it only lasted one season. Flash Gordon is not the kind of story that should be done seriously. It is intentionally campy. Even the original comic strips, you go back and look at them, they are about as ridiculous and out there as you can get. And that's considering early 30s, early 40s comic standards. I mean, it's not a serious anything, honestly.
Yeah, man, that's true. I mean...
And so to try to say, oh, well, update it with modern technology, make it look better, I feel like that's... Even if you try to go campy using modern technology, that more serious aesthetic is gonna kill some of the fun.
Yeah, that's very fair. It is. That's very fair, but I almost wonder if... I guess you can make that argument because it's not like they were intentionally trying to do something that would come across as very hokey or very cheesy. It just
they
came
cast
across
Brian
that
Blessed.
way.
I don't think they were trying to be serious.
Fair. I mean, just... thank God it's not Masters of the Universe. What?
I don't think, as ridiculous as Masters of the Universe is, I don't even think it has the ability to hit this level of cheese.
Well, that's the problem! But... No, but I think you posed the question, cinematic masterpiece, in the description in the video.
80s cinematic masterpiece. Remember, we're going based on 1980s standards. The 80s kind of epitomized cheese. So, by embracing the cheese and the glam, I feel like it is the 80s.
I mean,
even before the
that is
80s
incredibly
realized
fair.
they were the 80s. Because remember, what we see as the 80s aesthetic didn't really hit overall society until almost the mid-80s. So the fact that this came out in 80 and epitomized what the rest of the decade was going to look like, it was ahead of its time by that standards.
Yeah, look, I think that's... Yeah, like, it really is hard to argue with that. I almost wonder... Excuse me, sorry. I almost wonder what this film's legacy would be if they waited another 10 to 15 years to do it.
Like, what do you think would have been the potential benefit?
It wouldn't have come out right after Star Wars, and it could have stood on its own a little bit. Just very candidly, I think, because it came out, what, 3 years after A New Hope? And it would have been... That would have been, what, a year before Empire? Or 2 years before Empire? Right?
Yeah.
Like, what was the box office for it?
That would be... total box office... $27.1 million. On a budget of $20 to $27 million. So it literally broke even. But it became better known after the fact.
Right. Like, I just
so
wonder,
that well, remember, it made cult classic status for a reason.
Actually, you're true. So it came out the same year as Empire. But...
Okay. Hold on.
What do you got for me? What are you doing?
Okay,
Hello?
live, so no cursing. Say hello to Mike.
Hi there, Mike. Hello.
Hello?
Matt.
Hi. Oh,
Yeah.
what's up, man?
Okay. Oh, it's got a little bit of a... Oh, okay.
Mute your computer.
You said leave it?
Mute it.
Mute it.
Eh.
Yes.
What the hell is happening right now?
What happens anytime we do the show?
Did you
What?
plan this?
Oh, what? Okay, I'm confused as to what you're talking about.
Talking to Mike.
Oh. Hi, Mike.
Hello?
He says hi.
You guys are like got a little bit of a lag, so it's like I'm watching you, but then like you're... I'm like, so like you're actually ahead of what you're talking right now.
Yes.
Yep.
Actually, no, you're quite a bit ahead online.
Say bye, Matt.
Oh, okay, bye.
Bye. What the hell was that? Oh, God.
Oh,
No,
greatness. That was greatness.
So I guess I just wonder what would have happened. Like, what's this movie's legacy if it doesn't get released the same year as Empire, and it doesn't get released in the middle of the Star Wars Renaissance, if you will.
Okay.
Like, that's, I guess, like... Sorry, I'm going to adjust in my chair for a second. I don't see you on my camera, by the way. Or am I?
Yes.
What are you doing? Jackass. No, for me, look, for me it's as simple as, like, was this movie too ahead of its time? Like, did this come out at the wrong time? What would have happened if, what would be this movie's legacy, and what would be the legacy of Flash Gordon, the character in general, if we're having this conversation and it's the 30th anniversary and not the 40th anniversary, right? Like, does it have more of an imprint and more, does it leave more of a fingerprint on the sci-fi community? Like, because like, it's, people know the name Flash Gordon, but do they know just how relevant it was? Like, for Christ's sake, oh, sorry for all of my Christian, oh, no, wait, no, I'm sorry, we can ridicule the Christians all we want, that one's okay.
This isn't South Park. Let's, you know, try to keep it at...
No, you're right, this is 2020. Is what, like, the franchise and the property is credited for coining an entire genre.
Yes.
But yet we're here talking about the 40th anniversary of it, but like how many newer generation sci-fi fans, like, that are younger than us know about it?
I think
know
you'd be
that it
surprised,
ran for...
honestly.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just
Like,
based on
do
any
they know
time
that
I've
it ran
seen Sam
for...
Jones have a convention appearance, there was never a lack of attention for him.
Well, it also helps that he fought Ming with a stuffed teddy bear, voiced by Seth MacFarlane. But no, like, in all honesty, like, how many people that don't actually know the history of a lot of sci-fi stuff know that this is a property that ran for 60 years in the comics?
Well, let me pose it to you
Same
this
thing with
way.
Buck Rogers.
Well, let me pose it to you this way.
Yeah.
What do you think would have been the impact on the legacy of Flash Gordon if this waited 10 years and happened to be a box office success? How would the legacy have changed? Because right now, it has the cult classic status to hold on to, which is not really something that comes around for movies that were box office successes originally. It is very rare that a massive box office success maintains that level of cult classic attention and deep love. And even more than that, if it came out 10 years later, then all three Star Wars would have come out, and it would have that looming over its head. Plus, Star Trek would have been even bigger with its movies. Plus, we would have been at the first. Was the first Turtles movie in '90?
I feel like it was like the late 80s, early 90s, yeah. But like this, well, I get what you're saying, but also I guess you could
90.
counter
It was
that
in 90.
with...
So it would have been
in 90,
competing
yeah.
10 years later with Turtles, which then its special effects would have made, I think, Flash Gordon look cheesy in the wrong ways because it was doing its practical special effects and animatronics in conjunction with the Henson Company. So it would have had that level of intensity against the cheese that Flash Gordon would have been trying to achieve. Would it have even had the same long-term effect?
No, what if 10 years later it doesn't go for that cheese? What if 10 years later it actually does present itself as a serious take on a very epic sci-fi story, almost in the sense of like a Dune, or of
then
like
I think
Empire
would have failed.
Strikes Back? You think so?
Because look at Dune. Whenever Dune has tried to come out on screen in any form, even if you could say it was a serious attempt, there's no way that Hollywood was ready for it to be taken seriously, so their serious attempts came off as cheesy kind of in the wrong way. So while they've been remembered, they've been ridiculed for that. Flash Gordon doesn't get ridiculed for what it is because it embraced it in a very different way and didn't try to be serious about it. Even the comics understood that this was not some serious thing that you could try to pretend otherwise about. So I feel like if you waited 10 years, tried to do it seriously, and tried to use better technology, we would have been left with something that would be much less memorable. I feel like the timing of when it came out was so specifically perfect for its long-term appeal that any other time would have fallen flat.
It's possible. It's very possible. It's
Well, I
also
mean,
possible that
what
if they
would you
had
have
waited
thinking?
10 to...
Oh, sorry, thought.
I'm sorry, what?
I know. What would you have thought if you saw Flash Gordon after all three Star Wars? Would you have thought that it was an interesting sci-fi movie that you'd want to go back and see? Or would you have seen it as kind of a lesser Star Wars knockoff?
I don't think I would have seen it as a Star Wars knockoff because who's to say that 10 years after, if they make this movie 10 years after they had originally intended to, Lucas doesn't actually get to do it. Or
Well,
let's say just hypothetically, let's say he gets his good buddy and close personal friend Steven Spielberg to do it.
Well, I think the problem with that is that because Flash Gordon was so influential on George Lucas when he was making Star Wars, that the comparison would almost be mandatory. That it would be almost impossible to see the similarities, see the influence, and for anybody that didn't know Flash Gordon actually came out first, at least the original source material did, it would look like Flash Gordon was the pretender. I mean, you got to remember, you're dealing with the general public that doesn't spend the time to do that kind of deep dive in source material on average. Especially well before comic book movies became so popular.
No, that's true, but there's also the possibility that what if it becomes the big sci-fi, I don't want to say franchise, but the big sci-fi staple of the 90s. Like, what if this is what bridges the 80s sci-fi to the 90s sci-fi? Like, because there is, generally speaking, in the terms of science fiction, there usually is one genre-defining, you can say franchise or you can just say film in general, that usually comes around once in a decade. Like, who's to say that Flash Gordon couldn't have been that for the 90s? If, made by the right people. But now, unfortunately, and I hate to say it, but I do think that I'm right, I think it does get lost in the shuffle a little bit. And I think it got lost in the shuffle when it originally came out.
I don't know. I have this feeling that it benefited in the same way that the first Star Wars did as far as the timing of its release. That it was so perfectly timed that it fit the pop culture zeitgeist in a way that wouldn't work any other time. Because I feel like Flash Gordon is a franchise that worked great in the 30s because it was so unique. As time went on, 40s, 50s, 60s, it wasn't so popular because you had comic books becoming popular and kind of overshadowing the original comic strip. And in the 70s, when the TV show Attempts came out, you had enough other classic sci-fi going on at the same time, even in the 50s, when the very first TV show came out, that it just didn't quite match up. So it never really caught on. And so you got the movie that came out when it did, when sci-fi was getting popular again, but wasn't quite as mainstream overall as it was going to be in later years. And this set itself up to be remembered as one of the originators again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. Maybe it is possible to make a modern version that can do well. I personally don't see how it could work. But if somebody wants to prove me wrong, I'll see it.
You give me the budget, I'm sure I could do it.
I would love to see you try.
I would love to have that opportunity. Because if Michael Bay can make movies, then anybody can do it.
Well, okay. Who would you cast as Flash?
Like, gun to my head right this second, who would I cast as Flash Gordon? Trying to remember, how old is he? He's in his late 20s?
We're talking recent college grad, mid-20s-ish. And I swear if you say Timothy freaking Chalamet, I'm gonna smack you.
That's a good question. So you would need somebody that can act, that can also do the physicalness, do their own stunts possibly.
Basically, you need one of the Hemsworth brothers.
So that's one of the ones that I was thinking. I was thinking you could go with somebody like Liam because he looks young enough. No, let me think about that. Stall for a couple seconds. Let me actually give some thought to that.
Well, okay then. So in general, guys, if you have not seen Flash Gordon, if you have not had the pleasure of just diving into that ridiculous amount of wonderful 80s glam, you don't know what you're missing, but you need to fix that. It is amazing and really should be on every sci-fi or nerd's must-watch list. Like, this needs to be required viewing, honestly. Even if you come away saying it was okay, but it's not your thing, it's still something that needs to be experienced. It's very difficult to explain the full extent of the ridiculousness of this movie if you have not seen it.
I've got a couple options for you.
Uh-huh.
So Hemsworth, like you said.
Sure.
Taron Egerton.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a bad choice, right?
He would be an interesting one.
The other one, and this one immediately popped into my head, and you're going to laugh, and I don't know why it immediately popped into my head, other than that I think that he's got the balance of pretty boy and strong enough that he could actually pull it off, and he can act way better than I think he gets credit for, as I think Zac Efron could do it.
I believe that. No, and that's the thing. While you have gone to bat for the acting abilities of Robert Pattinson for years, saying that he's been underestimated because of Twilight, I will continue to go to bat for Zac Efron, saying that his time with Disney has made people severely underestimate what he's capable of. And between Disney and the fact that he has a a love for picking some of the more ridiculous films like Baywatch or what was that
But
one that he did with Adam Devine? Um,
oh, the what is it, like Brad and Mike Need Wedding Dates or whatever?
yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
The one with
because he
Aubrey
likes
Plaza?
to pick
Yeah.
a lot of those type of movies, I think a lot of people really underestimate how good of an actor he actually is. And because he absolutely can pull off the physicality, I'd believe it. I would say I'd be first in line to see the movie if he was cast as Flash. I'd be very interested.
Here's another good one, Ansel Elgort.
I,
And these are all people that are all under the age of 33, mind you.
I feel like Ansel would be a little bit harder because I've just never seen him handle that level of physicality and prove that he can
Baby
physically
Driver.
put on that much muscle. Because remember,
Baby
Flash
Driver.
has to be built. No
Yeah,
matter
yeah.
what his backstory has been, it's always been something that required a decently built actor to embody. And I don't know if he's capable of that. Ansel,
get those
not
vibes
Ansel,
from-
Taron, I know can do that. And
Yeah.
obviously Zach and Liam are. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
You didn't get that vibe from Baby Driver?
I think he can do the physical acting. I don't know if he can look the part. That's the problem. Because even if you want to say, okay, we're not doing the polo thing, we're not doing the NFL thing, to be able to still stay
in the
within the
show-
general story architecture, you would still need to have some kind of sports background, and I don't know if he can pull that off.
So the show, because I looked it up, because I don't remember the show at all. But in
Yes.
the show, he was a track runner.
Yes. But he was still a bigger track runner. One that
Was he?
only a TV show would say a track runner looks like that.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, no, he still looked like somebody that grew up in football and transitioned to track.
Track.
Like, he
To
did
not
not...
sport. Got it.
Usain Bolt, he was not.
Fair.
So,
no,
yeah.
I will be honest with you, like, I'm surprised we haven't gotten a big screen remake of Flash Gordon by this point. Like, I really am.
I don't know,
I'm surprised Lucas or somebody hasn't done it. Or,
I
like,
think
executive
with
producer.
the popularity of some of the other 80s franchises finally getting a little bit more respect than the Michael Bay treatment, especially once we see what happens at the box office with Dune, I think something like Flash might actually have a chance at getting a resurgence because it fits within that timeline of release that it's due for a redo.
So, Dune's going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
Dune is not going to be one of those films that we can rely just on the box office because Blade Runner 2049 was a box office bomb. And that movie was incredible.
Well, and the thing is, based on
And it's the same director.
Based on some of the early releases for the behind the scenes, about some of the on-set pieces that have come out, it looks like this might actually have a chance at being pretty loyal to the original novel, which I personally loved the full original series. All 4 books I thought were fantastic. Even all of the follow-up books I've greatly enjoyed. But I also recognize how hard it is to replicate that on screen because there's just so much content in every novel that you can't really do it in a movie easily, and a mini-series doesn't usually have the budget. So you're kind of stuck. But I feel like this may have the best chance of getting close.
So this will be 2 films.
Yes.
And
And that's why I
Gun to
think
my
they could
head.
be close.
Well, I will also tell you, I would not be surprised if each of these films is over 3 hours long.
Oh, easily. And
Yeah.
honestly, this is actually one time where I am actually okay with Timothy Chalamet taking on the lead. Because if you actually look at the book, he's kind of described almost like him. Like, he's supposed to be a scrawny, nerdy-looking kid. He builds up to be more than that by the end, but for a decent amount of the book, that's kind of him.
Yeah.
So I think this might actually work.
Yeah, we'll see.
But
I'm excited.
we'll have a whole different show all about Dune when it comes out, because I feel like there's going to be way too much to unpack that we must. So,
in pandemic, we have to wait an entire year for it.
But hey, we're getting WandaVision in January and Black Widow in, was it May?
May. Yeah, but there's one in between those that I care more about both of those, if we're being honest.
Yeah, no, that's fair, but I don't know. I feel like as much as it's been hyped, I feel like WandaVision may actually be the sleeper hit that is going to surprise everybody, because it looks like it's the right balance of comic book weird and like Marvel's specialty weird that
no, I agree.
May just surprise everybody on like an original Guardians of the Galaxy level.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely do. I'm more excited for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But
that's fair.
We'll see what happens. But yeah, on that note.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We absolutely appreciate it. And once again, seriously, whether it looks like your kind of movie or not, go check out Flash Gordon if you haven't already. It really is worth your time to at least see it once. I don't think I've ever met somebody that regretted seeing Flash Gordon. So it's at least worth checking out.
Yeah. That's fair.
Even though it is definitely in my favorite sci-fi list. It's definitely up there. That one of those movies that I will watch any time it's on. I'm very okay with it. But
yeah, 100%.
Guys, question of the day. If you have seen Flash Gordon, what was your favorite part? And if you have not seen Flash Gordon, tell us what you think the movie is actually about down in the comments. Like write your synopsis for the movie that you think you're gonna see, and then let's see what we get. But with that, guys, as we said at the beginning of all this, if you have not already, please like the video over on Facebook and follow us. Like the video and subscribe over on YouTube. We must appease the Google overlords. And if you want to check out more of our stuff but don't have time for the videos, you can check out the audio of all of our live shows and our interviews over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher. Because reasons.
Much more profanity in the audio only, but much less nudity. So, take your choice.
Oh, with that, thank you so much. As always, I'm Brad. That's Mike. We're Dallas Geek. See ya.